Week 12 of college football was absolutely crazy. It was a weekend in which we saw a couple upsets that were very shocking, and we saw a couple other thrilling games that I don't think many people anticipated. One of those big games that was a thriller was USC versus UCLA, and USC essentially flipped the college football playoff and the Heisman race upside down by inserting themselves into both of those conversations and really taking over. And UCLA gave them everything that they could, and it wasn't like USC was doing a lot to stop them. Now, the one thing you can give credit to was they were opportunistic. So we're going to look at what does USC do really well, taking a look at what they can do in the college football playoff, and then maybe look ahead at what everybody else should worry about in terms of both the playoff and the Heisman race. It has to start with Caleb Williams. A phenomenal game by him, 502 total yards, and it looked like he was playing lights out at times. Now, he did have a couple of really bad throws, but he also had some phenomenal throws. The one that I think everybody was talking about was the one with him rolling out to the left and threw an absolute dart, something that you just don't see very often from quarterbacks at the collegiate level unless they're special. And Caleb Williams feels like he's a special player even if USC doesn't make the college football playoff. Now they still have one more regular season game to win, and they have to win the Pac-12 championship for there to even be a shot. But you have a chance to make an impact and change who gets in the college football playoff, something that the Pac-12 has been struggling to do. And that's something that I'm really excited to see. Caleb Williams is someone that can be a phenomenal player and can change games. And we saw that against UCLA. Now, the other thing that he did was he basically, I would say he should be at the top of the Heisman race. I think a lot of people had CJ Stroud up there for some reason. Now, don't get me wrong. CJ Stroud is having a good year. I just don't think that he's having a Heisman year. I think, if anything, you'd put Blake Corum above him. And when you look at who else is deserving, Max Duggan deserves to be up there. Caleb Williams obviously deserves to be up there. And I think CJ Stroud belongs in that conversation, but I don't think that he is the front runner by any means. Caleb Williams essentially secured his spot to New York, in my opinion, and has two more chances to prove why he belongs there. Now, this is a USC offense that has been thriving all year, and the loss of Travis Dye was something that would push most programs back maybe a little bit, but USC essentially just reloads. Austin Jones, the Stanford transfer, stepped right in and had a good game against UCLA, something that they really needed. They needed him to step up, and he provided some good play. You also saw Darwin Barlow have a couple of big runs. Raleek Brown has a ton of speed, and you're getting him utilized. Also, the passing game was phenomenal. We talked about Caleb Williams. Jordan Addison is proving why he is one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in college football. You look at what he did against UCLA. There were times where it felt like nobody was covering him. Like, how do you not cover the best receiver on USC? You just, I don't know if you can come up with an explanation other than Jordan Addison is just that good. This is a guy who was cooking every DB that played against him, and now that he's healthy, he is what makes USC's offense so much more dangerous. Yes, there are a lot of exciting players, and we've seen some of those guys emerge. Taj Washington had a couple good weeks recently. Michael Jackson III has been stepping up as well. And it's something that is really exciting if you're a USC fan. I will say that the one big concern has to be the defense. When you look at what UCLA was able to do to this defense, 513 total yards and 45 points. This is a defense that, yes, created 4 turnovers, and we'll talk about that in just a sec, but that is something that's very concerning. When you look at the college football playoff, you're going to have to find a way to improve those numbers. You're going to have to find a way to be better than that. And I don't know if that's going to happen. I think Alex Grinch has a lot on his plate. He has a lot to figure out. And yes, some of these teams that they'd face in the college football playoff do not have the offense of UCLA, of some of these other teams they face, but this is a defense that must find some improvement. They must find a way to slow somebody down. But I will say the one thing that they've done well is they've been opportunistic, because the fact that this game was a 3-point game and they needed all 4 of those turnovers. There's no doubt about that. This is a team that, yes, can score a lot of points, but their defense has to step up more frequently. They have to do more than just turn the ball over. You have to be able to get stops. You have to be able to force punts. And they didn't really do that against UCLA. This is a team that was, on their heels. They were forcing a lot of the issues here in UCLA. DTR was playing really well, and they only forced UCLA to punt twice. So those 4 turnovers were huge. And again, if you can give this offense more opportunities to score, they are going to do that. They are going to get points on the board. They are going to make life very easy for you. But if you're giving up all these yards and all these points, you're putting too much pressure on your offense. And what happens if your offense can't score? Because you're going to face some better defenses in the college football playoff, and that's going to really cost you when it comes down to it. Now, when you flip over to the college football playoff, there was an opening. There could have been more openings because Georgia struggled with Kentucky, beat them 16-6. Ohio State struggled with Maryland before scoring late to make it a 13-point game. Michigan needed a last-second field goal to win the game against Illinois. TCU needed an absolute thriller of a field goal to beat Baylor. South Carolina did USC a favor by beating TCU. So that puts number 5 Tennessee with another loss. That should push them back. The big question is, will they jump LSU? I think that they will. I think USC deserves to be the 5 seed. I think that LSU beating UAB doesn't really do anything for me. And obviously LSU probably could get in the playoff should they win out, because that's a whole nother discussion that's diving down a rabbit hole. But with regards to USC, they are currently sitting 7th. That probably will change in the next couple of days. You're looking at teams that are right near them in terms of like Clemson. You're looking at Alabama and Oregon, and USC's one thing that they have going for them is they have 1 loss. If they win out, I think that they're in, because that means that you're going to have, Ohio State and Michigan play each other next week. So one of them is going to have a loss. And it's just a matter of what the committee thinks of a team that, say that USC wins the Pac-12 championship. How do they view a 1-loss Pac-12 champion over a 1-loss Michigan or Ohio State team that does not have a Big Ten championship? That is something that'll be interesting to see how they figure that out if that scenario comes into play. But USC is a team that is right there. They are a team that can very much be in that playoff conversation. They have the offense to do that. They have the opportunistic defense to be able to keep them in games. But I don't know if it's enough to win it all. All I know is that things are very different because of this win and because of what Caleb Williams did this weekend.